Welcome back to the Underage Packers podcast. Today we are doing a video to recap the Packers' thrilling 17-point comeback win against the New Orleans Saints, the most points overcome by the Packers in franchise history in the fourth quarter. Jordan Love is entering this new era with dominance, with swagger, with poise. The Packers are 2-1. I'm Joey, and here to recap it with me is the man who saw it all with his own two eyes in the stands of Lambeau Field, Big B. I mean, how was witnessing that game at Lambeau?
Oh man, by the time the third quarter came around, like the end of the third quarter came around, I already accepted the loss. Like it was just all looking forward to the moral victories at that point.
Yep.
But until Rashawn Gary got that his final sack, that third sack, something changed
Mm,
in that stadium. You could just tell the momentum just shifted like hard in the
yeah.
Packers' favor, and it was just all uphill from there. Such a great win.
I will say, looking back at it, it is just like such an interesting game all around because even into the third quarter, when our offense still had nothing going, I was like, why do I feel like they are going to win this game? Like, I know I messaged the group chat and I was like, I think this was still when they had 0 points on the board. I was like, the Packers are going to win this game. Like, we are two
Yeah.
and one right now. Like,
Mhm.
and I think the main reason for that is just because, like, while we had nothing going on offense and the defense wasn't doing great either, like, if not for that punt return from the Saints, they would only have 10 points. And, like, down 17, even into the fourth quarter, that's a 3 possession game. I just felt the confidence that Jordan was going to get the few massive plays that we needed, and he did.
Yeah.
He was bold with his decisions, confident with his decisions, and the crazy thing about it is that it was a 17-point comeback, and I still feel like we left a lot of points on the field. I mean, think of
Yeah.
all the drop Jaden Reed passes. Samari Torre had a few in there as well. Um, and even earlier on in the game, I think on that first offensive drive, if Jordan Love hits Luke Musgrave wide open down the seam, I think the Packers go on to win that game 49-0. Like, I
Yeah,
think that
probably.
is just a total game changer, to be honest, if they connect on that first pass. But man, Jordan Love, so happy to see him there. His Lambeau Field debut. And as I tweeted, in front of a fan base where a lot of people doubted him. And I know it seems like the fan base is in complete support of him, which is obviously great. That's
Oh,
all I want for
100%.
Jordan. All we
Yeah.
have been begging for the past 3 years. But that was not always the case. And honestly, if it weren't for Aaron Rodgers' antics on his way out, I don't think that would be the case even now. But here we are. Jordan Love gets introduced as the starter pregame. The fans go nuts. Big B, I know you said that was arguably the loudest you've ever heard Lambeau.
Oh yeah, I think easily too. Like I probably say this every single game. Like when something big happens, like oh my God, that's the loudest I've ever heard Lambo. But like actually though, like that was probably the loudest I've ever heard Lambo. Like and it was probably not even close. Like it was
Wow.
insane the ovation Jordan got. Man, just my arm goosebumps. My hair was standing up. Like it was that loud. It was that like amazing. And
Wow.
like even Patrick Taylor said today in his like Twitch, like even he was like in wow of the crowd and of how they were cheering. And I even said like that's probably the loudest I've heard Lambo like ever. And he also agreed. So like they came
Wow.
to play during that part, and they definitely came to play in the fourth quarter when we needed them.
That is amazing. I am so glad. The whole thing before this season started and for the past 3 years, we were like, we're going to be so obnoxious when Jordan Love turns out to be good. And we've done a little bit of that. But the fact that the fan base has completely turned to now be pretty much fully in support of Jordan it's
Yeah,
awesome.
it's
Okay.
crazy. It was
Yeah.
insane. Like, oh, it's amazing.
And adds a little joy to be there since day one supporting
Hmm.
him.
Oh
I
yeah.
shouldn't say day one. Day one, the night that we drafted him, I wasn't too happy. But the next morning, I woke up and I was like, all right, they made the pick. Jordan Love is now a member of the Green Bay Packers, so now I am going to root for Jordan Love. So on to this game where he had a great performance. At least in that last quarter there, but even in the reason they did not score a single point in the first 3 quarters was not because of him. I just think he played an absolutely amazing game. And my main takeaway from this game is that it's just such a gutsy win. And the fact that there were so many players that stepped up when they needed to was amazing. Like
Mhm.
they there was a lot of self-inflicted wounds for this team on Sunday, but whenever they needed to play, they made it. Rashawn Gary gets a sack on third down, stopping the Saints' drive, allowing the Packers to go score the game-leading touchdown. Um, Heck, even our buddy, friend of the show, Rudy Ford, makes a big pass breakup on that drive where the Saints miss that what would have been a game-winning field goal or game-leading at least.
Mhm.
Corey Ballantyne, dude has to step in for Carrington Valentine. Like, let's not lose sight of the fact how insane this like the cornerback depth situation is. Jair Alexander is out to start the game, so Carrington Valentine goes in um into that corner rotation. They're already down Eric Stokes, so we're rolling out there with Rasul Douglas, Keyshawn Nixon, and Carrington Valentine as our 3 cornerback starters. And like to me, that is just deserves a round of applause for Brian Gutekunst and the talent staff at 1265 for finding those guys. Rasul Douglas on the Cardinals practice squad when they signed him in 2020. Keyshawn Nixon bringing him on over from Rich Bisaccia's days in Las Vegas. Mainly expected him to be just a special teamer, and now he's starting at nickel corner. And then Carrington Valentine, a 7th round draft pick out of Kentucky this year. And like, wow, for one, they are going up against a pretty bad Saints offense. Um, you know, with that out of the sight, that fact is important, obviously. But the fact that they were solid for the whole game is amazing. And then two, Carrington Valentine goes out, he has a bicep injury, and Corey Ballantyne, who's undrafted free agent, has been on the practice squad for a little bit now, comes in, makes a big play. He does get burnt by Chris Olave later in the game, which kind
Oh,
of,
dude, Buddy was killing me, man. Oh
yeah.
my God. I mean, he stepped up, but like, oh, he was killing me in the beginning there.
Yeah, there was he definitely had his moments, but he also
Hmm.
made some good plays, I would say. So, Big B, I guess what were you most impressed with from this Packers team yesterday?
Oh boy, most impressed with, I guess, the resiliency of this team. Like
Yeah,
they got punched hard in the mouth, and they punched right back. Like we haven't had a Packers team that have punched back at an opponent. Like in how long? I don't even know when. It's been
yeah,
that long, and it's just so good to finally see. Like this team is not gonna give up. Like we're not gonna just lay down once we got hit in the mouth, once an obstacle comes. Like the past few years, even like that's happened consistently, and it's just so refreshing to see this team nail claw back from
mhm.
17 points.
Yeah. You bring up a good point there. In the Matt LaFleur era, there have been a lot of losses that have just come at the hands of they go down early and then they like crawl up in a ball and don't respond at all.
Yeah.
And my favorite stirrer of the pot out there, Peter Bukowski, tweeted after the game a poll, and he just said, "Do the 2020 Packers win that game?" My answer is a definite no.
Yeah. 100%. They're
They
not
don't.
winning.
Yeah, they don't have the ability. They didn't have the ability to punch back, like you mentioned, and also like I just don't think I think Aaron Rodgers' time management would have gotten in the way in that fourth quarter. Um,
Hmm.
you know, they had all 3 timeouts when on that Saints final drive. that they could call. And ultimately, it didn't matter. They didn't need a drive after a field goal. But if Aaron Rodgers is the quarterback, do we think those 3 timeouts last until that final minute? I don't know, man. I
No,
don't know.
no. Mm,
So, I mean, just a great win overall. Gives you a lot of optimism about this team. Um, and just the fact that they're so young, but are already showing the ability to, you know, respond to a game like that when they're down, and get back up. Some performances that I wanted to highlight outside of Jordan Love. First off, Rashawn Gary,
let's go.
man, we knew he was good. We knew he was great last year, but now I think by week 8 we might be banging the drum for his Defensive Player of the Year campaign. I'm not going to go all the way there yet, but man, once he is back at 100%, look out. This man had 3 sacks, and he only played a little bit over 30% of the defensive snaps.
I think he played 20 pass rushing snaps. I think I saw from PFF.
That is
Insane.
nuts. That is absolutely nuts. And it wasn't even like there was like a arm sack or anything where Rashawn is like still engaged with the offensive tackle. Every single one of these sacks, Rashawn run straight over the offensive tackle. And then, like, I know specifically on the big one that you mentioned earlier late in the game, I mean, I would be terrified if I was Jameis Winston. Rashawn Gary has basically his arms moving like he's swimming. And I hope he is like screaming his head off running after Jameis Winston in that moment. And that is just so great to see him in his first 3 games back from injury. I'm sure he worked so hard to come back from this injury. I was so shocked at training camp when I was there to see just how smooth he was. And this was the first week of training camp. And after the game, he has tears in his eyes. He gets the game ball from Matt LaFleur, and he basically just breaks down, and his whole team is congratulating him. And long story short, I love Rashawn Gary. I love that he is a Green Bay Packer, and I hope that he is a Green Bay Packer for many, many years to come. So, yeah, Big
He's
B,
him. He's that guy. He's him. He's that guy. He's
he
that
is,
good.
he is.
He is. Like, and
Big B,
he just deserves that game ball. I'm very proud of him. I'm so
yep,
happy for him. Like,
yeah,
he's just a good guy. He's one of those guys where it's hard not to root for him.
absolutely. He is Packer people all the way around. And he just seems to love playing for this team. I mean,
Hmm.
the put cheese on everything hashtag, that is one of my favorite player sayings that has ever existed. Um, was really happy when we took him, and of course that iconic moment where he gets the call from Gutekunst and he is on the phone with his family around him, just crying. Uh, it's amazing.
Yes.
Um, Big B, what are some other performances that you wanted to highlight?
Yeah, I mean, he kind of simmered down later in the game, but I think Kingsley and Agbar had a very strong start to this game.
Mhm.
It felt like he was in like every play like early in that game. Love to see it from Kingsley. It seems like he's continuing his momentum from the preseason. That's all you can hope for, and just a very strong start from Kingsley.
Yeah. The only, I mean, a few names throw out there. Romeo Dobbs had some amazing catches, that game
Oh
leading
yeah.
touchdown, the like 40-yard pass, a few drives earlier as well. Romeo had a great game. Darnell Savage had a pretty good game. And I'm happy for Darnell too. Like, he's not playing like an all-pro safety, of course, but he looks much improved from last year. Looks like he wants to be there more. So if he can just be an average player that gives it his all, plays on
Oh
special teams as well, then like I'm fine with that out of Darnell Savage.
Oh yeah, and I feel like Dontavian Wicks and Luke Musgrave had their moments as well. They had
Yeah.
some pretty big catches and some big moments also.
Yes, definitely. Wicks had some big plays for sure. And then one of these weeks, Jordan is going to connect with Luke on that wide open pass that he keeps getting open on.
It's gonna be this week. I have
Yep.
faith. It's gonna be this week. I'm calling it right now. Not even our
Yep.
preview episode, but I'm calling it right now on this one.
Yeah, not to look too far ahead to that Lions game because, like you said, we are going to have a full preview episode early this or in a few days here. Um, but I'm really confident in this team going into that Lions game. It's going to be the biggest test of the season so far.
Oh yeah.
Hopefully, you really got to hope that both Aaron Jones and Christian Watson are able to return for that game because that'd be massive. You saw, you know, I think Aaron Jones proved his worth by not being available. I mean, the offense
Oh
is
yeah.
just so limited in what they can do without him in there. Obviously in the running game, but then also in the receiving game. Like, when you throw AJ Dillon out lining up at wide receiver, teams aren't exactly too threatened. And I am not. That's not even me like getting on the AJ Dillon hate train. Okay, but like that's just the fact of the matter. So I'm really excited for Aaron Jones to be back, and hopefully it is sooner rather than later.
AJ Dillon, like, where do I begin with this man? He had a way better game, I will admit. He did do very well, I think. But, you still like to see him, hit some of those holes like Andy Herman tweeted that one video. It just seems like his confidence is just not where it needs to be right now, and he's just not confident, pretty much. And it
Yeah,
sucks because this offensive line is ruining AJ Dillon. This offensive line is wasting AJ Dillon's prime. It's
there you go.
disgusting. Royce Newman has to ruin it. Anyway,
Okay. Well, yeah, definitely, gap vision is not as great. Um, I know there was a play specifically where he like there's a hole open to the left side and he just like goes straight into a line of defenders. They're still calling outside zone runs for this man. Stop it. That's coaching
yes.
malpractice. It's enough of that. Um,
Yes.
but yeah, we'll let AJ, once Aaron Jones is back in the fold and he can be more of a lightning to the thunder,
Please. Please.
then I think he's going to do much better. Other than that, great Packers win. Feeling really confident heading into week 4 of the season. And hey, I mean, this could very well be a crucial game for who wins the NFC North. It's only week 4, but I'll look at it. The Vikings and Bears are both 0-3. The Bears, I would be surprised if they win more than 3 games. The Vikings, they could have a late season push, but I think it's pretty clear, despite what everybody wanted to tell you, I think it's pretty clear that it's between the Packers and the Lions for this division.
Yes.
They're both 2-1 right now. This game could mean a lot because I do see the two teams ending up with similar records. So let's go win this game. And from there, we'll rock it off to the rest of the season. But other than that, Big B, any other thoughts on this win over the Saints?
Oh boy, any thoughts? Good team win, On to Detroit now. Saints are in the past. Focusing on Detroit. Got
Yep,
to go 1-0. Let's get this dub and get a redemption for
that's
week
right.
18's terrible loss. Let's go, baby.
That is right,
Ah,
baby. We will be back in 1 or 2 days to talk to you about the Detroit Lions game. We thank you for tuning in to this game recap. We hope you enjoyed it. If you did, make sure to subscribe to this YouTube channel and follow us on all the other socials. You can find me on Twitter at JoeyVZ_ and then at Big B or at Big Packers 4X. And we will talk to you later. As always, go Pack Go.